So there. So after spending her whole life in Winnipeg, Connie Gamble has now made her weekend escape from the city her home in the RM of Piney, and has been working with the RM of Piney on transit challenges since 2020 with her business background. She's enjoying helping out the tiny community wherever she can, including being asked to teach a few community members pickleball on their newly acquired court, as she has just learned to go as a snowbird in Arizona. So, Connie, welcome, and we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm going to share my screen. I do have a PowerPoint here to share with you. And so I'm going to talk about the Southeast Regional Transportation Initiative, and I'm getting really tired of saying that because we have such a long project title. We've now started calling it CERTI. So CERTI is that acronym for this, this growing project. And I just want to mention that, we know that rural municipalities throughout Manitoba have been, struggling with the challenge of meeting transportation needs of residents. And although I'm hearing municipalities don't want to run a service, they are very interested in being part of the facilitation and part of the solution. So this CERTI opportunity is an exciting new way to collaborate with each other, with different communities, to discover our needs, to access fundings, and to provide creative solutions. The rural municipality of Piney and Eco West have partnered, and TONS is also a partner with our original planning study grant and the University of Manitoba as well. So now I can't change my slide. Why can I not go to, there we go. So we really started in Piney. There was a lot of needs expressed. In 2018, there was an age-friendly initiative where transportation came up. In 2019, the RM of Piney did a housing supply and demand survey, and transportation was certainly one of those top 3 service requirements. So a small grant was secured, and Piney started in the summer, or actually in the fall, I guess it was summer 2020, and we'd had a focus on trying to help seniors with their transportation needs. Now in Piney, 1/3 of the community is over the age of 60. And so there were a lot of requests. We did a survey and found out that a lot of seniors wanted assistance with getting to services and medical appointments, and especially going to Steinbach and going to Winnipeg, which are the next nearest urban areas from Piney. There were a lot of challenges with trying to make it feasible for seniors, and we did look into the provincial MDTP grant, but again, based on the affordability of residents here and uncertainty in ridership, we needed to go a little bit bigger. So although we recommended that maybe a community van would be the next option, we needed to wait for more funding opportunities. So we started looking into potential regional partnerships. And in the fall of 2021, the federal government came out with the RTSF program that had both a planning and a capital stream. RTSF is the Rural Transportation Solutions Fund. So we thought, well, you can get up to $50,000 to start studying some transportation. So we jumped in with both feet and thought that we could start looking to see if there were other areas that were interested in partnering with us. Being in the southeast corner of Manitoba, we had a lot of other municipalities to go through to get to Steinbach and to get to Winnipeg. So our grant asked for us, we asked the grant so that we could have funding to look for those partnerships and to start doing some data collection on ridership. Soon thereafter, we thought, well, we're sort of at the end of the line here for most things. So Buffalo Point is the corner of Southeast Manitoba, right next to us. And we actually put in a capital grant with them as well, so that we could maybe get a community van together and try to see if we could service this very large geographical area. And what do we have to lose but put in a grant and, as everybody knows, sit and wait probably for at least about 6 months. Well, sure enough, our planning grant was successful. So we started getting into our more detailed planning. And then as we were about to start getting our survey out there, we ran into Eco West and discovered that they were looking at doing something very similar. Now, Eco West is a company that works with various rural municipalities, and their mandate is about promoting sustainable economic development. Our planning grant was looking at just getting partners and doing some data collection, and that's as far as we were going to go. Eco West had very similar objectives. We had long conversations with them, and we decided to partner with them because not only were they looking at doing data collection for ridership, they wanted to also look for some potential solutions. So we partnered and our initiative started to grow. In the fall of 2022, Piney and Eco West in partnership launched CERTI. We invited over 17 municipalities, First Nations, and communities to see who would be interested in joining this initiative. We had a $2,500 buy-in, if you will, and that $2,500 was to be leveraged to get other grants so that we could continue doing this work. We ended up with 13 partners that we were able to do ridership surveys, and we worked with community champions. So we met with every community at least once. We talked about how best to engage their community and how do we send out the survey. So we even created a YouTube video to introduce our project, and you can find that as well on the RM of Piney site. So the RM of Piney hosted the survey site as well as that YouTube video, and we offered both French and English survey, and we also had a paper survey. So really this whole discussion, as my title had said, is all about networking and opportunities. We continued to grow. We started gathering a lot of interest. I don't think I need to go into a lot of detail, but we know that transit services have been challenged in the rural areas, and this area is really growing. People want to go within their communities from one rural area to another, from rural to urban. There are urban workers that come out to work in rural areas. We know that seniors are growing in numbers and they want to stay in their community. There are fewer and fewer services over the years. Everything is getting centralized within the urban areas so that there is a real need to travel. People are getting, older people don't want to travel on the highways. They don't want to drive at night. I hear from Samantha and others that, even with MDTP, handy vans are in a real financial precarious situation. But within the Southeast Manitoba, there's only a couple of services available. So again, it's very scarce. There are really a lack of affordable transit options. People grow up driving, and it's expected that you just continue to drive. Now, being an hour south of Steinbach, I can get a taxi to come out here from Steinbach. Last I looked a year or two ago, for them to come pick me up, take me shopping to Steinbach and bring me back would be about $450. So not affordable, but I can get transit if I was desperate. But really, transit goes hand in hand with immigration, all the newcomers that we're having, especially from the Ukraine. It's a natural fit with housing and healthy communities. We also know that this electric vehicle and charging infrastructure is a real disruption to the automotive industry. So we don't know what our solution is yet. We're not focused on electric or not, but it's really determining what is our ridership. Where are they? Where do they need to go? What are their expectations? And we also know that we need funding. Every other transit service out there, fares are usually about, I think, about 30 to 40% of the cost. So we really need to have some funding. It's not fair for rural people to pay 100%, whereas urban areas are subsidized with various different methods. We also are very aware that there's a lack of drivers out there, and we need to make sure that we have appropriately trained and available drivers to be able to put some kind of service in as well. The area that we were focusing on is sort of anchored by Winnipeg, Highway 1 to the north, Ontario to the east, the US border to the south, and highway, give or take, Highway 59. So again, the Eco West under the AMBM, the bilingual municipalities, was doing maybe half or 2/3 of that area closer to Winnipeg. And through our partnership, we were able to extend this geographic area. Now, the province is very interested in different transportation solutions, and they're talking about biking and different in walking, but that is only going to help rural areas so much. So we really need to focus in on the public transportation. In Manitoba, transportation is the largest source of carbon pollution. And Eco West has a lot of connections within government organizations, and they have had various discussions with the Made in Manitoba Climate and Green Action Plan. CERTI was also invited to the bilingual, the first ever bilingual immigration forum, where transportation was also a topic. And that included the Environment Minister Klein. And I happened to sit right next to him, so I got our information into him as well. The RM of Piney is also talking about wanting to do a car sharing program within their municipality. And as part of this larger group, they have also extended that invite to all the other partners that have joined this initiative. I have spoken at the Steinbach Poverty Coalition, and although the city of Steinbach did not join our initiative, the Steinbach Poverty Coalition has taken some pointers from us and are very interested in trying to join as well. And they have now started their own survey, and they've got about 1,300 surveys out, and they have been meeting with the mayor and trying to get transportation going within the city of Steinbach as well. The Steinbach Economic Development Corporation did end up joining our initiative. So from a Steinbach perspective, we're looking more at the business perspective at this time. We were even contacted by the local Never Alone Cancer Foundation. So they are looking to see how can we get those people that need to go into the city for their cancer treatments, how can we get them directly into Winnipeg and back again? Because again, they have a little bit different situation. They don't want to be on a stop and go kind of bus. Anybody that's gone through those treatments can certainly appreciate that perspective. And we have also been very fortunate, and that we have had a lot of media coverage. Every couple of months, we do a release. We're talking to a reporter. So CERTI has been out there talking about igniting connections. Here's a great quote in one of those media articles from one of our counselors. Unfortunately, Mel has left our region, but I think she had a really great quote here about public transportation isn't just for people living in cities. It's a service deserving of all Manitobans, whether you're rural or urban. And improving transportation is about giving residents the freedom of equal access to social, health, economic opportunities that enhances our quality of life. Through our survey, I have heard about people who just want to get out as well, and they don't have a vehicle. They don't have a way of just getting out and going somewhere. So mental health is also a key driver of this initiative. And we really want to, our ultimate goal here is really, can you travel within rural areas within Southeast Manitoba without having to own your own vehicle? We've also heard from a lot of people that they are a one vehicle family, and it's a challenge to try to get everybody to where they need to go. And it's not just about seniors. It's not just about low income. It's about professionals. They say we should be including professionals. We should be including youth. We should be including everybody. So we are really trying to be as inclusive as we can. From our survey, I believe you have a copy of that. we've heard that a third of the people are not satisfied with their current transportation options. And those that say they are satisfied also note that, well, maybe I'm going to need this in the future. And we know that these solutions are not very quick in coming. They would also consider, those that are satisfied would also consider public transportation if it was affordable, if it was convenient. So there is a lot of other considerations. So I think that potential ridership number could be a lot higher. And again, it just reinforced it's not just Piney, it's everybody. They want to travel to Steinbach and Winnipeg as the highest quoted destinations that they want to get to. So really, we want to be able to figure out some solutions here that address ridership concerns. I want everybody to be as excited about public transportation as kids are and going on a field trip, but we need to address affordability. We need to make sure that the schedules work. We have people that want to commute to and from work. So you need early morning schedules, you need later pickup, you need people that want to go in the afternoon. So if I'm a shopper, I don't want to get on that commuter at 7 o'clock in the morning and wait till 5 o'clock to have to come back. We have people saying that they want to go for an evening out somewhere and they want to have a safe way of getting back. So we need late night schedules. We want it to be sustainable. There are a number from two perspectives. One is from an environmental sustainability, but we also want to be able to put in some kind of transit solutions that is not just a 1 or 2 year term. I've read so much research from others that these programs only last as long as funding does. And the Rural Transportation Solutions Fund is working on a permanent funding solution. So we don't know yet what it is, but they are working on it. Now, we do also need to be mindful that there are also some public safety concerns. Some think that their communities are safer without public transportation. And there is also the concern of, we hear of things going on Winnipeg Transit with passenger and driver safety as well. So we are cognizant of those kinds of things as well. We have tried to keep partners informed every couple of months. We have even included presentations from Manitoba Hydro and what they are doing to get ready for this electric revolution in vehicles. We've had conversations and presentations with Winnipeg Transit. They have a new master plan and they are talking about a hub approach. And they could certainly accommodate a hub in southern Winnipeg or maybe further, who knows, that we could connect to. Eco West has worked with Stonewall and they have worked on their mobility services and helping for seniors as well. We have heard about perhaps setting up a co-op model. So Cooperatives First has talked to the group about different initiatives. So at this point, I don't know what our model is. I don't know whether we're doing third-party contract, fee for service. And we don't know what kind of vehicle, but we have talked about these things just as examples for others. And rural Manitoba is very difficult. We know it's a very low population density. And so when I look up examples of what others have done, there are, demand on service is very popular, but a lot of these areas have much higher population density. When you look up a small rural town, they're talking about 10, 20,000 for a town. We're looking for an area where our partnership is about 40,000. So we really have geographical barriers, but we know that there's strength and impact by working together in rural communities. And we're hoping that we can really be a pilot for other areas in Manitoba. So we're focusing on ridership. Where are they? What are their expectations? What funding can we leverage? And how do we ensure that we can obtain and secure safe drivers and make this an awesome program? Now, I'm not sure if Danny has joined our conversation or not, but he is the executive director and he has been very supportive. We have had a great partnership. Our core team has been meeting every 2 weeks or so. We have been able to give them all our data and they are starting to review some of that and working towards a solution. They are also working on additional funding opportunities as well. So this initiative from, hey, let's throw in a a planning grant, see what we can do, has really grown into an awesome initiative with a lot of support from a lot of other municipalities. Are there any questions, comments?
I have a question, Shirley Kalnick here from Rossburg. We have 2 handy vans. So I guess my question to you is, Connie, how have you been dealing with the transportation to now, like before you started within Piney and the other small communities? What were people, how were you dealing with the transportation issues?
Well, within Piney, there has been a volunteer, an informal volunteer program that's gone through the service to seniors. Through the COVID, there were transportation funds available, so we had volunteer drivers, but they were paid for their expenses and made costs much more affordable. Again, there's been a real confusion because that, again, it's when funding is available, Piney can help people out, but otherwise it's $150 for people to go basically from Piney to Winnipeg. So that is not affordable. We also know that volunteer generation, they themselves are now getting older and they're the ones that need help. So it's getting harder and harder to find these volunteer drivers. The nearest handy van to us is Stewartburn. So again, to get that van here becomes not really feasible. So really, it's just been family, friends, and if you happen to be able to afford, I say a volunteer driver because they're using their own personal vehicle.
Okay, so you physically do not have a handy van. So
no, and neither does Buffalo Point. So that's why we partnered with Buffalo Point to try to get a community van that we could share together, and it wouldn't be restricted to seniors. It would be open to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Merle, you have a question.
Yes. Have you had any other regions in Manitoba reach out to you because they might have been somehow aware of your project, your initiative?
Have we had any other which reach out to us?
Have you had any other communities reach out to you? Like, does anybody know besides Tons and your Southwestern Manitoba? Has your...
So we are now sort of restricted. We were trying to contain this project. So we sort of restricted it to Southeast Manitoba. And we focused really in on municipalities and First Nations. So when we launched the initiative originally, we invited 2 First Nations that were within the geographical area that we were talking about, and 15 other municipalities. And we reached directly to municipal offices.
And would you be prepared at this point in time to speak to other rural areas to share what you're doing?
I may. Right now, I am working with both the RM of Piney and Eco West on this initiative, and everybody has been is pretty supportive of this initiative. So I was saying to somebody, oh geez, I've got this presentation coming up, I really should prepare. They said, Connie, you've been talking about this for so long, you can do it in your sleep.
Well, the reason I ask, like, I'm from Brandon, and I know people from here that do not have a vehicle, and
right.
And when they go into a medical appointment in Winnipeg, they're using the shuttle bus that goes to the airport. And what happens is, if their appointments don't coincide with the timing of the shuttle, they end up having to spend a night. And then when they're at that particular, and it's usually, I think, Holiday Inn West or something that they stay in, and the shuttle bus return is around $110. When they spend about $180 for the night at the hotel, and then plus the food, then plus transit in Winnipeg, and they usually end up taking a taxi because they really don't know the transit system. It's over $400 for, it's supposed to be a 15-minute medical appointment, but it ends up being 5 minutes. So for 5 minutes, they've spent over $400. And if they have to stay an extra day again, because tests are ordered and they can't get into the test immediately that day, it's very expensive.
We have heard that exact scenario many times. And even when you go in for a 1 o'clock appointment, you're probably not into the office at 1 o'clock. And again, adding on tests. So we are very aware that medical support is a big need. We don't have an answer yet. And so, but again, it is clearly on our radar on how do you do this? And, you know, do you just connect to a hub in Winnipeg? Do you actually take people to their appointments? Those are a lot of details that still need to be worked out. So yeah, it's a common problem. And when somebody comes up with a solution, it'll probably work for everybody.
I really like your ideas.
Thank you. They're certainly not mine, but say Piney and Eco
I like
West
what you're
have done
doing.
a lot of work. Yes.
Yes.
And you know what? It's all about networking and opportunities. I mean, one thing has just kind of led to another, and the RM of Piney has been very generous with my time because I'm working with them. So yeah, I have to give them a lot of credit.
Well, I'm sure happy that I've heard about this.
Well, thank you, Merle, for your questions. And Connie, yeah, a really interesting project here in Southeast. Like, I guess it really opens our minds to what can happen and how, if we are persistent and keep moving forward, that maybe we'll get an excellent sort of system out of it eventually. So yeah, thanks for doing this. We have I just want to remind everybody that we're still recording this, but Sean has asked a question on the chat. How does MPI insurance work if the handy van is not used for medical transportation and for entertainment trips? Does it need different insurance?
We are not talking about the provincial handy van program. That we looked at that initially and it was too restrictive for us. So when we're talking about getting some kind of vehicle, we're talking about a community van. So this is outside of the Manitoba transportation program. Hopefully they will have some changes that we can adopt, but at this time, we are not using their program.
Okay.
It's too restrictive in terms of funding and only being focused on seniors. So again, we are opening this up for anybody and everybody. Maybe there's special senior trips, but it's really intended to be an inclusive program.
Okay, thank you. Have another question. Is the RHA engaged?
To some degree, I have a contact through Shared Health that has been involved in this as well. Again, and within Piney, I have talked with healthcare, community healthcare, so that I am getting those types of feedback as well. So they are aware of it. And in other municipalities, it's dependent on how far each municipality or their community champion is relaying the information. So that's why I asked early on for community champions, because I can't be everywhere all the time and I don't know all the contacts in every community. So those community champions have been very important to this project.
All right, thank you. Here's another question from Terry Porter. Terry is a counselor in Portage, and she's also a handy van. She runs the handy van there. So she says, here in Portage, I promote service for seniors to give a more affordable option. We work together. This is as long as they are not wheelchair bound. Okay, so what do you mean by that exactly, Terry? You promote service for seniors? Terry, are you with us? Okay, well, thank you for that, Terry. Is there any other questions for Connie? Okay, so Sean says the insurance coverage is for any trip. It's not restricted to medical appointments. Okay, so I guess you probably work with service for seniors coordinators in your area too, Connie, on this, just to see what kind of services are required. Are there any? Sorry.
Service for seniors. for information. And yes, they're part of our outreach as well in Piney.
Okay, thank you. You broke up a little bit there, but I think we got the gist of that. Is there any other questions or comments? You know, I can see where this might want to be expanded to even other areas. So are you willing to sort of consult with other people if they're interested in your model? And you know, how could other people get involved?
Oh, well, again, we chose Southeast Manitoba as an initial area just to keep it manageable. And we are hoping that that we can develop something that can be a pilot for other areas. So again, if you want to reach out to me, or if you want to reach out to Danny Robideau, he is the executive director, and he does work with municipalities on a number of different initiatives other than transportation as well. But again, I have sort of been, from the data collection perspective, I have kind of been the lead coordinator. So Samantha has my email. So if anybody wants to contact me, I can certainly bring it to the larger group.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Please.
Yes, Shirley.
Shirley here. I have another question, and the presentation is very, very good. I thoroughly enjoy it. But do any of these other communities already have handy vans in place? Because I'm looking at my area and all the small communities. We have First Nations, they've got 2 or 3 vans. The neighboring communities all have handy vans right now. So I'm not sure if this process how it would work for our area if we broke the province up into Midwest and Northern and all the other portions of the province that we have. I guess my big question is, do these other communities within that targeted area have handy vans already in place?
Of our 13 partner communities, only 2 have handy vans. But from our survey, the largest proportion of respondents are the 31 to 60-year-old age group. And they are, seems to be the loudest indicators or voice saying that we want public transit and we want help getting to work. We want to be able to have public transit to get to work, to socialize, to be able to go for a night out and not have to worry about driving home. So there are 2 handy vans, but again, this is a much larger initiative that's supposed to be able to be available for anyone of any age.
And that's the difference, yes. And that's a very good idea, because we have those issues in our part of the world too. People wanting to book the van to go to, let's say, Country Fest in Dauphin, or go to a casino or whatever. So it's not all senior that we look at as well, but your concept is more for transit, for people that want to get to work, so we're not having so many vehicles on the highway, and we don't need the whole mess of parking lots for everybody taking a vehicle. Yeah. And it's costly.
There's been a lot of other issues, and I mean, I could talk all day, and I know you have an AGM to get to, but you know, there are even things like parking issues that have come up in La Broquerie. So there are people in apartments and houses that everybody who lives there has a vehicle, and it's creating concerns just to do street clearing or snow removal. So there's a lot of other issues that are coming up as well, which I hadn't even thought of, because you think, oh, well, rural areas, there's lots of room, right? But it does raise other issues. And even with taxis, I don't know if there's Ubers or taxis in other areas. Within that whole Southeast area, there's only 1 taxi service, and people saying, I can't afford a taxi. Or on the really, really cold days, I'll take a taxi one way, but I walk the other because I can't afford it.
Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you, Connie. No, I'm just thinking this has been so interesting, and we appreciate all that you've shared with us today. Would you come back sometime and update us? Because we'd like to hear how this project carries on. I think it can be a good incentive for many of us in other parts of the province, and yeah, a good pilot to sort of look towards. So
Samantha has been a great support to us as well, and I try to keep her informed as well. So certainly I will continue communicating with her as well.
all right. So thank you very much, Connie, for being with us today. And we're scheduled to take a 5-minute health break now. So